This is the review for how to do research for the research paper or for a history class. So let's start with the research requirements. First, all students must conduct their own research on their chosen topic. Everyone needs to have their own unique note cards. Any note card that is the exact same as another student's, you will not get credit for. Number 2, all students must use a minimum of 5 approved sources in their final draft of their paper. Number 3, sources can be approved digital sources, web-based, in other words, databases, or print, in other words, books. Number 4, students can use their textbook and lectures, but these do not count as one of the 5 sources, so those will be additional sources. Finally, number 5, all research must be cited in MLA format, both in text citations and the works cited page, or students will receive a maximum of 50% on their paper. No exceptions. So that takes us to how to research. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, ABC. This is exactly the same process that we did when we were doing the 1920s magazine. So it should sound very familiar to you. So step 1, you're going to find a source, either a book or a digital source. And again, by digital source, I mean a database. So in terms of the books, the librarian has pulled a whole bunch of books related to the topic. I'm also going to take you on some book tours related to your topic in our school library. There are also lots of books available in the Contra Costa County Library that you can use. Step 2, remember that this is what I say that is the most important step, yet also the most skipped step. This is where you record the bibliographic information for your source. Note, you'll be turning this in with every note card check. The only way you'll get credit for a note card is if it has a matching entry in your source list. And that's what I refer to this as. I'm going to call it this source list. Okay, so that is what I will always remind you to turn in with your note cards. So for your books, anytime you're using a book, you can have that source list on a piece of binder paper, handwritten, or of course, you could type it up in a document. For databases, it's very easy. You simply copy and paste the MLA citation from the database into a document. So since this is one of the most important, if not the most important step, I want to go through it in a little bit more detail. So let's say that you're using a book. What you want to make sure you do, either on binder paper or in a document, is you want to make sure that you are writing down all the necessary publication information. How do you know what that is? Well, you're going to go to the class webpage. So here we are on the class webpage, and you're going to scroll down to where it says U.S. History Research Paper. You're going to click on that, and you're going to go down to the section that says Works Cited. This is where you need all the information for your Works Cited pages or your source list. So it says right here, MLA 8 formula for books and lectures. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to open it up. So if you're using a book in a library or just a book in general, or you are using one of my lectures, this has the information that you need to keep track of in your source list. So it's organized simply by the type of source, 1 author, 2 author, more than 2 authors. We've used this in our 1920s magazine project as well. If you have questions or you have some sort of source that doesn't quite fit into one of these categories, please just make sure you ask myself or the librarian the proper way to cite that information. Note down here is the lecture. So the last one is lecture, and it is a formula. All these are formulas. You plug in your information from your source in here. Note with the lecture, it's my name, the title of the lecture, and then you will also need to include the day, month, and year of that lecture. So I just want to make sure that you remember that you can find the dates of lectures, again, on the class webpage. So if we go back up to the class webpage and we go to the main page and you go to U.S. History Agenda and Homework Board, you can see the agenda for everything that we have done for second semester. So let's say that you're wanting to use this lecture, America Joins, on World War II. You know the date then is Monday, January 8th. Okay, so this is where you want to look to try and find the dates of lectures. Please note, if you are using a lecture from fall semester, there's a couple that you could possibly use depending on your topic. Just email me for the date and I can get you the appropriate date. Okay, so if you're using any kind of print source, lecture, or textbook, you are going to use, again, this handout on the class webpage titled MLA 8 Works Cited page, which again, on the class webpage, you can find under U.S. History Research Paper in this section called Works Cited MLA 8, and right here, MLA 8 Formula for Books and Lectures. Now, besides those types of print research that you could be doing, you might also be able to use, for some, not all of the topics, but for some of the topics, you might be able to use some of the readings that we have completed in class from fall or spring semester. So this is the U.S. History Readings page, and you can see there's a whole bunch of different readings here. If you can use one of these, I've actually included it on the research guide. It'll say you can use Impact of World War II for the World War II paper. So if you're using one of these sources, you still need to keep track of the source information. Where do you find that? Well, very easy. So again, it's on the class webpage. It's on the main page. You're going to go back to that, and then you're going to go down again to the U.S. History Research Paper link. You click on that. Again, you're going to go to this Works Cited, and it says the first one, Source Information for Select Online Class Readings. You click on that, and it's going to be a Word document that opens up. So I'm going to click on Open. And then what we have is all the readings organized by unit. So let's say you were using that Impact of World War II. It tells you the author is Goff. So on your note card, you of course would have Goff and then the page number. If we scroll down, okay, down here we have the source list in MLA format. This is what you would copy and paste into your ongoing source list. For example, I will show you. If I made a note card using anything written by Goff on the class webpage, I simply am going to highlight that, copy that, and I'm going to put it into my source list. And there it is. Now, this does not have to be in MLA format. Some students like to just keep it in MLA format as they're working on the paper, so they don't have to try and format it too much later. That is your choice. Let's do another example. Let's say that maybe you are using a book. Okay, so you're using a book and you have just one author in there. Very easy. You can copy and paste. So I'm going to hit copy. And again, I'm going to paste it into my source list in that formula, and then I'll simply enter in the information in that correct order. That'll make it easier for me in the long run. So last name, I'm just going to make something up. Hamilton, Samuel, title of book, The War, publisher is Greenhaven Press, and then publication date is going to be 2015. Period. Okay, so I just use the book to fill that in, and then I can delete this because it's in the proper format. Let's say that I'm using a database. So to use a database, of course, we've got to go online to the internet. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to srvhslibrary.com. And then for this, on the left-hand side, we have all of our databases. I'm going to click on the Gale Virtual Reference Library. There you go. And I'm going to search for, let's see, let's do Japanese internment. There it is, Japanese American internment. I'm going to click on that. Maybe. There it goes. Okay, so I decide I like this article, so I'm going to click on this article. I read through it. I make some note cards on this. Okay, so on my note cards, what do I put and what do I put in my source list? Well, let's go down. Remember, you scroll all the way to the bottom and you're looking for some sort of title, source citation. You are going to copy and paste that into your source list that you have been creating. There we go. I'm going to get rid of this center. Left align. Perfect. Okay, so this is your source list. This is step 2. This is where you're keeping track of any source that you've used to create any note cards. You need to make sure that you are doing this. That takes us back into step 3 of research, actually creating the note cards. So remember with step 3, depends on the source on what goes on the note card. What goes in the note card is source information. It always goes in the upper left-hand corner of your note card. If you have an author, you put that. If there's no author, use the title. You put a page number if there is one. If there's no page, you write NP. Now again, this really depends on the source that you're using. How do you know what exactly goes here? Well, it goes back to your source list. Okay, so for a book that looks like this, what goes on your note card would be Goff, and that since this is a print source, okay, a book, there would be a page number. If it was for this one, again, it was a book, Hamilton, a page number. If it was from one of these databases, there is no author here, right? So you would actually put the internment of Japanese Americans in quotation marks on your note card. Because it is a database, there are no pages. So then you would put NP. Whatever goes on your note card is whatever is at the very beginning of your source list. Now, one thing that I don't have on here is a lecture. So what goes on your note card for a lecture is actually very easy, and it matches the same rules. So in terms of the formula for a lecture, it's right here. So let's go ahead and add one of these in to our source list. Let's say I've decided I want to use one of my lectures. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this, and I'll fix it to make it match up with the lecture. So we're going to call this one America Joins. We keep U.S. History class, San Ramon Valley High School, and then we need to change the date. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to estimate. I think it was the 7th of January in 2018. And then you leave Danville, California lecture. Ooh, helps if I spell it correctly. There we go. So what would go on my note card here? Well, here's the deal. You need to include my last name, Hamilton, on your note card, and then you also need to include the title of the lecture in quotation marks, America Joins. There are no page numbers. So that is what would go on your note card. Okay, so once you have, of course, the proper source information matching your source list, then you're going to have your quotes onto your note card. Remember, it's one quote or fact per note card. If you have questions while you are doing your research, how to format your note card, what should be on your source list, please make sure you are asking myself or the librarian while we're working on this in class. Or, of course, you can send me an email, or if we're having an access day in which we're working on this, then you can sign up and get help there. Good luck!